you're watching more Joe Bart, you'll know I love watching Joe Bart. So, yeah, it's philosophy. Every person has their own story. Let's get right into the video, y'all.
The topic for today's philosophy video is sonder. Now, this is a term you may have heard before on social media, whether it be on TikTok or fucking YouTube Shorts in a sad, sappy edit or something. But it's basically the realization that everybody in your life has the same complexity that you do, right? Their life is as complicated, as emotional, as hard, and as packed and busy as yours is, right? When you're a kid,
Well, not all. I feel like there are some that are like less busy. You know what I mean? And people that die sooner, their life won't be as like much. You know?
kid, you kind of go through your life thinking that you're the center of the universe, similar to how we as humans thought the earth was the center. You think your life is the story.
Well, honestly, I don't think that's a bad thing to think that you're the center of attention because if you don't want if you want to be successful in life, I feel like you should always have the idea that you are the main character. You know what I mean? But that's my thoughts on that.
Right.
Sorry to the chill day. I don't know. I'm just kind of tired.
Right? Everybody around you is side characters, and some people are legitimately NPCs. And in their, life, all they serve is a purpose to interact with you in one minute segment of your life, and then they kind of just fade into existence. But as you age, this one moment that everybody, not everybody, but majority of people do have when you're driving in traffic or something. Usually that's kind of when I think about it. You kind of think about Sonder and the idea that everybody's life is as complex as yours.
Yeah, like have you ever just like been sitting down and going, "What's my favorite soccer player doing right now?" Like there's like actual living brain of it. Like you don't actually see him as like a person. I feel like you see him as an identity, but not a person. It's like think about it, and you're like, dude, Ronaldo is like probably sitting in the hot tub right now doing whatever. It's just weird to think about, you know.
Like when you're going through traffic, right? If you're ever sitting at a standstill and it's 2 in the morning, you're like, where could this person possibly be going? Where did they come from? Oh my God. They're doing the same thing I am. They're living the same complex life I am. When you have an interaction with somebody at the airport, right, or at a bar, or anywhere, the DMV, you have a station 5 sentences with somebody. You're never going to see them again, but you know you're both parting ways to a intricate, complex life you're both going to live for however long you live it, and you're never going to interact with each other again.
Yeah, I just had to think about and just crazy to think about.
I love those moments. And it makes me think about Sonder all the time, but it's also like the coolest thing to be able to meet somebody that, maybe from an entirely different area as you. You cross paths for 30 seconds and then you never see each other again. You're probably never going to think about each other again. I have memories of this one guy I interacted with at a TSA security line in an airport. I can't even remember his face. I can't remember what race he was. I can't remember anything about him. I know he was a guy, and I know we talked about video games. And he was cool, right? And I don't know if he's dead. I don't know what he's doing with his life. I don't know what job he's holding, if he has a significant other, what his plans in his life are. I have no idea. But I love the fact that I shared that moment with that person, and I can't even put a face to that interaction, but I know that I had it. When you understand the feeling of Sonder, where it makes you recognize that everyone is as complex as you, it kind of makes you feel smaller in this world. And that can be disheartening for a lot of people. I think it's very humbling. And I also think it makes you appreciate those weird small interactions you have with people you're never going to see again. Whether it be a guy at the gym,
Yeah.
right? That you make.
Like being like a 8-year-old and you go to the park, you meet that one kid you hang out with, and then once you leave that park, you're never seeing them again. You know, it's always crazy to think about. Oh yeah, Timmy from like 3 years ago. I wonder what he's up to now. Probably don't remember his name to be honest. If you do,
ABC
yeah.
once a month and you kind of just nod at each other. You hit them with one of these. or you fucking have a conversation with somebody on a subway or something like that. You're never going to cross paths with each other again. You didn't really make a huge impact on their life, but you affected them in a way that will change their day, which will change their week, which will change their month, which will change their year and their life. Even if by 0.0001%, if you're trying to quantify it in some mathematical sense, you affect everyone around you. You existing affects the universe and the 80,000 people you will, on average, interact with, which will affect everybody in a chain reaction down to the point where even if you were born and you sat in a room and barely interacted with anybody, you would have some impact on the universe and the people around you where you definitively existed. Even if there's nothing after this life, even if.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I'm not talking too much because I actually like watching it, so it's like hard. I don't know, and I agree with so many things. It's hard to commentate. You know. So,
At the heat death of the universe,
like I said, I'm really tired. I got zero sleep.
everything ends, you will have had some impact on that and the people around you and the people they impacted and the people they impacted and so on and so forth. Sonder isn't something that's like generally talked about by a lot of philosophers, but it really intertwines with the idea of existentialism, which is the idea that you are your own individuality that is not predetermined. Your life and your actions are of your own will and choice, and you impact each other and their own lives rather than something being kind of given to you in a predetermined plot like you're playing a story game or reading a book. Your book is being written, but it has not already been wrote, right? Or been written. Like you're on page 100 of 500 of your book or an undetermined amount of pages, whereas a lot of people may perceive it as you live your life on page 1 and page 300 has already been written.
I just zoned out and not hear a single thing. I was trying to fix the camera.
That's not the case in my mind, or in my opinion at least, is that you pave your own life and the people around you also help pave and write your own book.
Yeah, I think everything is up to experiences. That's what I think.
Rather than you just being the sole writer of your own in itself. Sonder makes you kind of crash out in the best sense when you first have that, feeling that you're not the main character and everybody is as complex as you are. It's very humbling, and I think it makes you a better person, right? A lot of people don't like the feeling of Sonder.
It could just be my phone.
It gives you too much information at once, and it makes you kind of ping pong between ideas of people in your lives and people you've interacted and how complex their life is. And then it makes you go down, how complex the universe is. Who am I? What's going to happen when I die? You start kind of, bouncing to other thoughts when you have the first feeling of Sonder. But it makes you a better person in that you realize your impact on the world, right? You realize that small interaction I have with somebody on a given basis is going to change them. Right? If I piss somebody off, that's a negative impact. If I hurt somebody around me, they're not just a side character NPC. That's a person that has their own struggles, right? And I've affected them negatively, right? Or conversely, doing something that's nice, doing something that's chivalrous, holding the door for somebody brightens their day and might put them at a better sparked start than if you weren't there otherwise, right? And that will change them in the life that they will live. So I think Sonder, and my advice, I guess, if I'm giving advice in this sense, is that treat those small interactions like they're big, right? Because the things that you do.
Yeah, also, you're going to die one day, so it's like you want to make of what you got right now.
Do on a daily basis are going to affect people's lives, even if small. And I know I've just said this like 5 fucking times, but I kind of want to drill it into your brain that Sonder makes you realize that everything in your life matters, not just the big things, marriage, death, fucking graduation, like all those daily moments in your life, not only for you, but for other people, right? I think people live for the weekend. They live for the big moments.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say, for the small ones as well.
I think a follow-up with Sonder as well is questioning other people's perception. If you are thinking about how complex everybody's life is,
yeah, I think I'm good.
Usually you kind of want to jump into the brain of somebody. You try to imagine yourself living the life of a random person, of a family member, of a friend, and how they, think, how they interact, how they react to certain things.
I can hear
understand
about it.
what it's like to be them, and you will never be able to be them, right, at a conscious level, because how you are perceptually, how you are consciously, has been built by all the experiences that you have had, right? So even if you know the experiences that somebody else has had, you won't be able to think about it in the way that they did at that time, which changed how they thought about the next thing and the next thing. And so you truly can't grasp how any human consciousness is, or how any consciousness is for that matter, outside of your own. It might be so. And while we do kind of,
It's like only when I'm actually clicking on videos. When I'm not clicking on videos, everything's fine.
you know, generally assume that you and I have a similar level of consciousness, how it actually functions in our brain, in our thoughts, is so different. It goes into the fucking thought experiment in philosophy that I can't prove that you're conscious. I can sit here and ask you questions about life, about you, about, complex topics, philosophical theories, theology, deep rooted topics where you actually have to give your foundational opinion rather than saying, like, yeah, I like pizza. You know, even then, that doesn't prove to me that you're real and you're conscious. The only person that I know is real and conscious in the thoughts that
Yeah.
I have is myself, right? Now, by Occam's razor, the idea that you're choosing the option that has the least assumptions, I am assuming that you and everybody else around me is conscious, because why would I ever think otherwise? But it does make you realize that it's effectively impossible to be anybody else, live in anyone else's shoes, and think how they think, or even prove that they do think. When I think about Sonder and how complex everybody's life is, I don't sit there and go, "Oh, nobody else is conscious," right? I'm not the main character, but I'm the only non-NPC. No, but I do think there are philosophical zombies in this world.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that. Like, I feel like people just don't think about life deep on a deep level. You know what I mean? Like, people are just gonna live life and go through it and like kind of just go right past and don't think about it. You know what I mean? Like deeply about things.
Um, Not in like a demeaning sense. What I mean by philosophical zombie, by the way, you've probably heard it in a Vsauce video or other shit. It's not like a new topic, but it's the idea that there are people in this life that are perceptually, from the outward sense, the same as you. They, go to a 9 to 5, they live a life, they've had an education, they have hobbies, they have interests, but they're not there beyond the present and in the moment sense. They've never really thought about the drastic severity of their life, and I guess on a deep level understood the idea of being alive. They lack the complex conscious experiences that other people that are zombies do. Now, if I had to guess, I would say this is like less than 20% of the world population. I think some people's consciousness
No, dude, I know some people that just don't think. Some of my friends just don't think on a deep level at all.
is are more complex than others. I don't think I have some fucking mega mind level awareness, right? I see people that not even are just like YouTubers like Alex O'Connor that are really, grounded and understand life around them, but also just people, whether it be family members or friends, that understand the life around them, have some level of, inner spiritual understanding, and live their life in a way that seems a lot more peaceful. And I don't want to say like guru-esque, but you might have a friend that it's like, wow, they get it all, right? And, they still have their own complex, problems in their life, but it seems like they really have a genuine understanding of their universe and have come to terms with it, right? And, that might be a surface value thing and they're putting on a facade, but there are people that really do understand life around them better than us, right? And there are people that understand it and may not even perceive it at all, right? Those people are philosophical zombies. Now, I would say that's probably like 1 out of 10 people you meet. Somebody that's never thought about life, never thought about death, kind of born, grew up, and have always lived in the physical sense, not a emotional or, I guess, thought-based sense. They've always been day-to-day living rather than ever giving anything genuine thought. And I think Sonder can pull people out of that philosophical zombie mindset, right? I don't think if you are currently a philosophical zombie, you will forever be one. I don't think it's something that's genetic. I think it's life experience and also thought about the experiences that you have, right? If you always see things at a surface level, you will never see them beyond that.
Sorry, I'm like not talking at all. I'm putting zero input. I'm basically listening to the video. I just don't know what to say.
And I think it's safe to say that anybody watching this video is not a philosophical zombie because you had some level of interest to click on a, I guess, deeper video than somebody that's just watching a fucking Toon 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 Sahur compilation at the age of 25, right? Like, there are people that are zombies, right? You could probably think of somebody in your life that you might even be friends with that's just like, they're great, but they don't really see anything beyond the individual level that they're experiencing in that exact moment. And that's it, right? And if you ever ask them anything that's profound, they have no interest in it, right? I have not really friends, but more acquaintances that I know that I wouldn't necessarily say
Let's finish the
are
video
philosophical
first.
zombies, but they just don't care about anything. And, that's obviously your own personal interest on whether or not you've resonated with, deep things about life and actually care about them. That's not to say that you're not a philosophical zombie. Think about it at all, not because it upsets them, but just because they have no care. They only want to live in like the Matrix, if you want to say that. I kind of sound like a fucking crazy person right now. I don't know. Now that I don't want to come off as like, oh, I'm some conscious motherfucker that understands life. I don't get life at all, right? A lot of the time I look at myself in the mirror, I don't recognize myself, and I think nothing makes sense, right? I'm an idiot on the philosophical sense. I make these philosophy videos, and I think people like them because I can talk about them from a dumbass's perspective, right? I'm not Friedrich Nietzsche. I'm not somebody that's able to fucking write this shit in a complex manner and really pick
Sorry, I had to text someone.
apart these ideas. I can just explain them in the way that I understand them in very simplistic terms. And so I think to kind of encompass what I'm trying to say right now is when you think about Sonder and how everybody else's life is, it makes you think about their consciousness and then about how, there's a portion of the population that is they're NPCs. I think that is the direct, synonym to philosophical zombie. They're an NPC. They exist. They have experiences. They never look past that individual thing they've experienced ever, right? You can pull them out of it, but it's like pulling teeth. And then there's people that the majority of the population that live their life, they might think about, life on a deep level more than others, but they're still, a human. No, my God, not that. Okay, because it sounds bad. Not that philosophical zombies aren't people, because that sounds dehumanizing. It's more so like the qualities that make us, I guess, really complex, right? More than dolphins and elephants. We all hold that.
I feel like he's trying to say that some people just don't think as much, like on a deep level. That's like literally it, without trying to dehumanize it.
Even philosophical zombies, but I think people that don't think about life ever, right? Not that they've thought about it and now it's like an ignorance is bliss mindset and you're like, they've come to terms with it and why should I keep thinking about it? No, like they don't care at all. Like they just want to fucking gamble, do their 9 to 5 and play video games till the day they die. They never want to have any thought process behind it. Like that's philosophical zombies, right? And you could sit there and I know there's probably somebody watching going, oh my God, that's me. It's not, because you wouldn't be fucking watching this video if it was you, right? Even if you're a gamer and you play video games for 12 hours a fucking day, I'm talking about a very small percentage of people that just don't give a fuck about anything, right? Like they will hold the same job they've had when they were 16 till the day they're fucking 80. They never try to move out of their hometown. They never try to experience life. They never try to do anything because they don't care. Those people, I would generally assert the philosophical zombie title to, right? Not even if you're somebody that holds the same job and lives in the same fucking hometown you were born in, you're not a philosophical zombie. You have to dead ass be a bum that does nothing and never wants to do anything. Not even in life experience senses, but also just thinking, That's why it's like 5% of the population. Sorry, why am I crashing out right now? I don't know why I'm getting so upset. Anyways, I love talking about Sonder. I'm sorry, I'm reading my notes to myself. This is how I map out these videos. I kind of just pick a topic and then I ramble in my notes for like 30 minutes and then I just kind of pinpoint certain things that I want to touch on. Um, but yeah, I think it's like Sonder in general is something that a lot of people will just kind of arrive on in their own, way, in just a random, snap of the fingers moment of realization. It's never something that takes deep thought. It's just like, whoa, and it hits you.
Mm.
And that's why people love talking about it on social media, because it's a feeling that is relatable. It's a feeling that everybody, not everybody, but the majority of people have gone through at some moment in their life, is realizing like, I'm not the main character. There is no main character. It's just, we live in a complex, I've said that word probably 100 times this video. We live in a complex universe that doesn't make sense. And I exist, and so do you. And we both live these weird lives. We were born in different areas, but can still connect in some way or another. And I think that's also a fun takeaway, is that, like, regardless of the life that you live, we are humans that can interact. We all have a level of relatability to one another because we all have our own struggles. Even if they're different, we can relate in that we live a life, right? We live a life of hardship. We have family members die, friends die. You work jobs, you try to provide. You have dreams, aspirations, things you enjoy, favorite foods, right? Worries in your own life. And we all experience that. Regardless of how different your individual experience may be from mine, we all have our own experience, and it makes you a better person. Having any Sonder thought, I truly believe, just immediately makes you like a much better human, because you're no longer in a narcissistic view of, I'm the main character, this is my life.
No, I think though you kind of sometimes should have that. You're like, because it's confidence, but not too much confidence, because then you're just cocky.
And, some people snap out of that earlier rather than later. I think most people, it's like late teenage years, maybe early 20s, you kind of have that real, woof, fuck. My life is not as, not meaningful, but as complicated in comparison to everybody else's is as I once thought, right? You always go through shit in your life and you go, why me? Why this doesn't happen to anybody else? It does, right? Not necessarily the exact thing that you're going through, but most people are living a hard life as well, with annoying things that pop up out of nowhere that they have to deal with, and enjoyable experiences that get canceled, and all these other things. It makes you, remind yourself to not only be humble, but also be kind around, or to the people around you. I feel like this was a terrible video, bro. Oh my God.
It
I
was,
feel like
yeah, he yapped a lot and he kept on doing the same point, so I think it was a good video. It's just a
yapped
chill
and I made no
watch.
sense. I said the word complex like 100 times. I'm so sorry. It's so hard to put my thoughts to words with Sonder, because it's literally me thinking about how everybody's life is as intricate as my own. And then how I'm supposed to kind of relay information beyond that, I don't know. You guys voted for this for the charity stream. You wanted me to make a video about Sonder, so we did. Next one I'm going to make is probably about dealing with death of family and loved ones. I talk about death a lot on this channel, but I think it's one of my favorite topics, just talking about life and death in general. Recently had a family member pass, so I think that'll be the next
Yeah, his grandpa. I've seen the video, I've watched the video.
video. It's kind of my thoughts on that, how I'm perceiving it,
He already made that a video.
and advice I would give in general. But yeah, if you have any videos you want me to, make, comment them down below.
Alright, that was a pretty good video. Sorry I didn't talk very much. Honestly, I'm switching over the camera. I'm very stressing over the bad quality camera, but Central Fair signing out.